Welcome to date number 9 on finances. Don't forget to like and subscribe. One of the main causes of divorce is financial problems. Before your date, spend 1 hour to individually prepare your financial report. Be honest. This date will take 3 hours. On this date, compare your financial information questionnaires. What are your philosophies? Discuss them. Then fill out a financial plan together. If your partner will not cooperate and refuses to reveal his or her financial records, do not get married. This is a huge warning sign. Try to make the date relevant to the subject to be discussed. Use your imagination. Here's one suggestion. If possible, during the day, meet in the lobby of a beautiful bank or where they have couches and a waiting lobby. Questionnaire number 1. List 12 or more financial expectations you have for your marriage, including material possessions that you dream of having together. Examples: the kind of car and cost, the kind of home and cost, cottage or mansion, living in the city, living near the ocean, being out of debt, etc. Does the husband expect the wife to work outside the home? Do you expect to buy your clothes at Sears or Nordstrom? I would like to spend $100 per person for food per month. I'd like to have a car and a mansion. Another one of my goals is to stay out of debt. Financial philosophies. Questionnaire number 2. How much income would you like to make this year? In 5 years? In 10 years? In 1 year, I would like to make $1 million. In 5 years, I'd like to make $50 million. And in 10 years, I'd like to make $1 billion. Who will primarily earn the living now and later? What are your expectations for your spouse's income? How should financial decisions be made? Separate or together? Will you divide the areas of financial responsibility? If so, how? Do you use credit cards? If so, do you have credit card debt? What is your philosophy about credit cards? Paying them off each month, using them long-term credit, or just use them for only emergencies? I pay them off each month. How much debt do you feel is acceptable in marriage? I think for a house is enough debt for a marriage. So $500,000. Are you or your partner currently in debt? Or their debts? I currently have credit card debt, but I plan on paying it off. If you now have debts, should you pay them off prior to marriage? How will you manage paying them off? Do you use a budget individually? Do you wish to establish a budget together? Who will manage the family finances, checkbooks, accounting, taxes, etc.? Do you think you should have a checkbook or have separate accounts? Share a checkbook or have separate accounts? Should each of you have an allowance or personal slush fund money that you don't have to answer for? How much? Should you ask each other for permission before you spend anything over $50, $100, or more when you are married? What limits would you like to set? Should decisions be made by one person or together when buying things like furniture, cars, or household items? When is it okay to buy on time? When should you pay cash? Probably should pay cash when it's someone you met online, buying furniture from them. Would you rather have a nearly empty apartment until you can save up enough money to make your ideal large furniture purchases? Or would you rather shop at secondhand stores and garage sales or beg and borrow from friends to set up your home now? I wouldn't mind shopping at secondhand stores or garage sales. Are you the kind of person who might buy something on a whim without consulting your partner? No. Do you foresee this as a problem in your marriage? If my partner likes to buy things on a whim without consulting, there might be a problem. How much money should be planned for haircuts, salon visits, etc.? What do you now spend money on to keep yourself well groomed? Waxing, nails, massages? How much money should be spent on clothing each month? What is your taste in clothes? Where do you buy your clothes? What are your habits now? Would you buy in a secondhand store? What are you willing to do for a short term if you are struggling financially? What are you not willing to do long term? How did your parents spend money on clothing? I wouldn't mind purchasing clothes from a secondhand store. My parents were spending money freely on clothing. Would you rather spend your annual clothing allowance on one expensive name brand dress a year, or the same budget to buy several different dresses at a thrift store, discount or outlet store, etc.? Would you rather shop with your spouse for clothing or do it yourself? What areas do you feel like it's okay to go into debt to buy now? Do you consider yourself primarily a spender or a saver? I'm a saver. Are there any areas in which your partner spends money that you'd like to see done differently? For example, does he or she spend more money on a hobby, clothing, recreation, vacations, or cars than you would like? Are there areas where you would like to see your partner spend more money? Do you or your partner gamble on a regular basis? Do either of you have debts from gambling? I do not gamble. My partner should not gamble either. Do either of you buy lottery tickets? What is your philosophy on such purchases? No lottery tickets. It's something for nothing, which is a bad frame of mind. If you both work and earn different amounts of income, how will you share your money? Will you want to pool the money together, or will you want some sort of separate accounting system? What is your philosophy? Separate accounting systems. That's my philosophy. What if there's only one breadwinner? How should the money be shared? I think there should be an allowance, maybe $100 per month. Maybe it can grow. Make out a budget for your first month of marriage and discuss each of your values. Do you see any problems? This is questionnaire number 3. Husband's salary minus withholding taxes, etc. Net income. And then you want the wife's salary minus taxes, etc. Net income. And the total net income. So first you want to calculate your monthly fixed expenses like rent, utilities, tuition and expenses, medical insurance, debt payment, car payments, and other payments that are fixed. And total them. Variable expenses, savings, charitable contributions, church, etc., food, gasoline, cars, maintenance, house phone or cell phones, household items such as toilet paper, other household miscellaneous items, clothing allowance for him and for her, haircuts for him and for her, recreation sports, health club membership, weekly dates and entertainment, vacation, and other variable expenses. And in total that. Financial summary. Fixed expenses total plus your variable expenses total, and add that to get your total monthly expenses. Your total net income minus total expenses is the remainder, which you can use for savings or for spending. Concepts to consider. After looking at your budget, review the results in detail. Are you in the hole? If you are, then go back and cut out some of the variable expenses. Do you agree or disagree with each other on what to cut? How can you solve these issues prior to marriage? If you can't agree on expenses before you get married, this is a serious warning sign of future problems. These must be resolved. Delay any marriage plans until you address all the financial conflicts. When I was a little girl, I remember vividly hearing my parents talk about the Gilmores. They were a handsome couple with a little girl named Patty, just my age. He lived in a beautiful home. I always thought it was the greatest luck in the world to play at her house. It seemed that she always had every new toy advertised on TV, including a stove that warmed up toast, a chatty Cathy doll that talked, a small ironing board and child-sized iron that plugged into the wall, and a herd of plastic horses. At school, I traded shoes with her. I had only one pair of brown shoes for school and church. Patty had 2 pairs of school shoes, one red and one brown, and a black patent leather pair for church and dress-up occasions. She was rich to me. I heard my parents whisper about how the Gilmores lived beyond their means, and it would catch up with them one day. I had no idea what it meant at the time. Suddenly, one day, Patty had to move away. I heard my parents whisper that they had gone bankrupt and were getting out of town before their creditors came after them. Patty cried on the day she left school. She told me that she was tired of moving every 2 years to a new town and school. Next thing I knew, Patty and her mother were back in town without the father. The mother had changed their last name and they were now living in a tiny basement apartment with a poor section of town. After years of being married to a man who spent their family into oblivion, Mrs. Gilmore divorced her husband, hoping to regain financial security. Remember, one of the main reasons for divorce is financial problems. If you don't feel secure or agree on financial philosophies, take a financial planning class together before your marriage. If you skip this section, stop and go back and work out your finances together. What did you learn new on this day? If you have any unresolved differences or conflicts, what do you plan for resolution? Record in your journal at the end of the link your thoughts, fears, and feelings in regard to your partner's financial savvy. Do you foresee problems in your marriage or have you solved them already?